All right, welcome back to the Sports Wrap. Joined now by Bill Koch, college hoops writer at the Providence Journal. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
PC in action tonight at the Dunk. They have Boston College Friday. When you look at their non-conference slate, probably better than most anticipated with just the two losses?
For a team that was picked ninth in the Big East, and Ed Cooley reminds them of that just about every time he speaks to them, I think they've done a great job. The losses are to Virginia and to Ohio State on the road. I think those are more than fair.
Now, going into the Big East slate as we go forward, a conference that is really highly ranked within the landscape of college basketball with some nationally ranked teams. How do you see them faring in the 10-team league?
Well, it's a very difficult start. I think that's going to mean everything to them. You start off at Xavier, at Butler, then you're home against Georgetown and Creighton. 3 ranked teams there, and Georgetown's the ultimate wild card. So I would think if you're a PC fan, you would take 2 and 2 there and then take your chances the rest of the way.
Now, going into the season, I think many were saying maybe NIT for PC, but when you look at what have they done out of the conference, if they can do some damage in the Big East, is NCAA tournament in the discussion this year?
They've played themselves into it for sure. They have no bad losses. They have a couple good wins against Rhode Island, against Memphis, most notably. And I certainly think that there are going to be opportunities there in the Big East to get those critical top 50, top 100 wins. I certainly think it's in the discussion for now.
Do you rank this so far, this Ed Cooley performance as a coach, up there with one of his best seasons?
He's been outstanding. A team with no seniors. Granted, some experienced hands, Rodney Bullock, Kyron Cartwright. But the way that he's gotten them to buy into an identity so early at the defensive end, really, really impressive, the job he's done.
All right, let's go down to Kingston now. URI taking on William and Mary on Thursday. Then they begin their conference slate. The 3 road losses to Houston, Valpo, and PC. The 1 loss to Duke at Mohegan Sun. Give me a grade for their non-conference performance so far.
Well, I gave them a C- in a podcast that I did with my co-conspirator, Kevin McNamara. And mainly I did that because of the expectations. Sure. Top 25 team, you're supposed to contend for conference championship. So it has been disappointing. Now, that being said, there's still time to turn this around. They have plenty of opportunities in the A-10. The season is not lost.
All right, so I think I've asked you this before. You look at, it's 18 or 16 games in the A-10?
18.
18. What do they have to do to feel good Selection Sunday without having to win the A-10 tournament in March?
They have 8 top 100 games. I would advise them to win at least 5 or 6 of those. And there are 3 games that they absolutely cannot lose. At St. Louis, at Duquesne, and home to Fordham. Because in the RPI and in all the computer metrics, those would be absolutely crushing.
Is, when they have their resume come March, is being in the top 25 earlier in the year, does that have any cachet? Because I remember an SMU team being nationally ranked not getting in.
I don't think so. I think they evaluate you based on the strength of your wins and losses. And those are on paper. They don't say that you were ranked 21st when you beat this team or that you were unranked when you beat this other team. I think it's more about who you play and the wins that you have.
All right, Hassan Martin has been dealing with a quadricep injury. Do you anticipate him being back for league play?
Yes, he'll be back at some point. I don't anticipate him playing Thursday. I think Dayton on January 6th, which would be their 3rd Atlantic 10 game, is probably a game that they're targeting at this point.
Safe bet. All right, E.C. Matthews coming back from that ACL. One game he has 30 points. The next game he's in single digits. Granted, this is barely a year after a major surgery, so how would you assess his performance so far?
It's been a little bit uneven, and I think he's admitted that he struggled with his confidence a little bit at times. But Dan Hurley's also taken the burden on himself that he needs to get EC playing better with Jarvis Garrett and with Jared Terrell. He has 3 very talented pieces there, and how he manages to get them to fit together is going to shape a lot of what Rhode Island does the rest of the way.
Now you have like those key 4 guys, Martin, Terrell, Matthews, and Garrett. Give me a URI player that you want to see step up here for this team to click.
I think to me, Jared Terrell has that alpha dog DNA. I think we've talked about that since the start of the year. He has those sort of qualities. The other player is Karan Iverson, who just has to stay out of foul trouble. His best game, he had 15 points and 10 boards, and they beat Cincinnati, which right now is their best victory. But too often we've seen him pick up 2 personals early in the first half, sit for an extended stretch, and it's really hurt them.
Last one on URI. If you were a betting man, are they going to get into the tournament?
Yes, I think they will. I think they'll find a way to rally here down the stretch. I think they'll build some momentum into the A-10 and somehow manage to scrape in.
All right, let's talk quickly about Bryant and Brown. New this year, the Ivy League tournament. So if Brown finishes in the top 4, they'll play for a potential spot in the NCAA tournament. Bryant doing their thing in the NEC play. Kind of keep us up to date on those 2 programs.
Well, Bryant's very exciting, very young. They scored a lot. collection of young guards, 2 freshmen, Adam Grant and Ikenna Naduba.
Yep.
You add them to Nezre Zuzwa, you have a very good backcourt. Brown has some experienced hands. Steven Spieth's one of the best players in the Ivy League. Tavon Blackman is probably the swing player for them, their senior point guard. Freshman to look for there is Joshua Howard, son of Fab Fiver Jawan Howard.
Right.
Very, very talented, off to a very good start for the
Has
Bears.
he been at any games, Jawan?
I haven't seen him yet.
He can sit next to Jordan Spieth in the famous section.
He could. They'd be a lot more famous than anybody on the floor, that's for sure.
That's true. All right, Bill Koch, thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
Follow him on Twitter. What's your handle?
At Bill Koch 25.
Bill Koch 25, and read him in the Providence Journal. Much more from the Sports Wrap coming up right after this.